afternoon. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, October 7th. Mr. Clerk, if you'll take us through this afternoon's agenda.
After the Pledge of Allegiance, we will go into open forum with Chuck Moran from the Kiwanis Club here to talk about Field of Flags. After that, we will go into executive session to discuss a couple of contracts, and then we will come back into regular session afterwards.
All right, thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chuck, if you want to come up for open forum? Chris, thank you.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm here on behalf of Kiwanis Club to thank you for approving the petition, if you will, for use of the town common on November 2nd to place a field of flags. This will be our 8th year that we'll be placing flags on the common. And it's a fundraising event for the Kiwanis Club, one of our several events. And it's also a joint fundraiser with Fisher House. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Fisher House, but there's more than 80 Fisher Houses throughout the country. And it's a home away from home for families of veterans that are receiving care at a VA hospital. And they stay free of charge. So it's a way that we give back to the veterans, as well as some of the proceeds go to the town organizations that we support as well. So I want to thank you for allowing us to do that again this year.
I agree. It looks great up there on the common with all the flags, and knowing that the funds go to such a great cause. It looks great, especially at night when it's lit up like that. At night, looks great. I just think anything we can do to get more use out of the common, and for something great like honoring the veterans. I mean, it works out really nice for the town. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
If you've never seen it, it's amazing. But it's more amazing every year is how quick we put up 1,000 flags.
Yeah.
By the time you sneeze twice, you're done.
First
It
time.
goes 15 minutes, you put 1,000 flags in there pretty quick. So, yeah, we'll do that again this year. This year's ceremony actually is going to add a new event to it, in that there's the Veterans Affairs is honoring Vietnam veteran era veterans from 1955 to 1975. If you were active duty, you're eligible for a commemorative pin. So we're going to be recognizing, I'm not sure the final count, but it could be up to 20 or 30 veterans that day from that era during the ceremony, which is something that we have not done before. So we're looking forward to that and recognizing them for their service to our country.
Great.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, this is taking place on the November 2nd.
November 2nd, we'll place the flags at 10 o'clock, and we'll have a ceremony immediately following. And as we just spoke, the flags take about 15 minutes to put up there. So we'll have a ceremony immediately following. And then we have some refreshments afterwards and a few guest speakers. And one of the select people have spoken before, and we'd love to have you there again if you're available. And it'd be our president would speak and a couple other speakers. And again, the highlight of this year is recognizing the Vietnam era veterans this year.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Again, if you haven't seen this, it's just amazing to see it done and follow through. And again, all the praise for the Kiwanis and all the efforts that they do around town.
Thank you very much. And I've spoken with Chris as well, and he's been very supportive in helping us with the endeavor. So I want to thank you for your help in reaching out to the veterans, and look forward to working with you.
Well, thanks for coordinating with me, Chuck. And from what I've been told, this is, like I said, a nice tradition for the town, and I just look to support it in any way that my office can.
Do you have the envelopes in your office now,
Yes.
Chris? Okay, so if they haven't received them in the mail, they can come up and get an envelope and support it through the Veteran Service Aid.
Yes, I have all the information for the Field of Flags in my office, and they can feel free to pick up and drop off in my office.
Okay, great.
Great.
And number they
People
can
can
reach.
also, you can donate online if you have PayPal and if you don't live in town and you want to support someone who did, or if you can't get down there is a PayPal link as well.
We have some of these flyers located throughout the town also. I think there was some in the town hall at several different banks at the YMCA. So we have a couple of those those sleeves, if you will, to hold the brochure, so. And we also have our website. If people haven't received one in the mail or haven't picked one up elsewhere, we have a website as well. So we appreciate any support that we can get. Again, all proceeds go right back into the town, and in this particular fundraiser, part of that money goes to the Fisher House.
Yeah. And I just say, I mean, Fisher House is an amazing program that they run. I had an opportunity a couple of summers ago when my father-in-law was in the hospital at the VA to meet some families who also happened to be in the ICU waiting room, and they were staying at Fisher House. And just to hear them talk about that from a personal level, about how wonderful it was to have a sense of community there. These people were from Maine, you know, and they would have had to stay in a hotel, spend a lot of money in Boston, and because of Fisher House, they didn't have to. So it was great for me as a Kiwanian to, you know, to have that firsthand encounter with them, but just to really see what a difference the
Yeah.
Fisher House makes. So it's a good thing to support them.
Yep.
Great.
Oh.
Anything else?
No?
Great, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Chuck,
Appreciate it.
thanks,
Appreciate it.
Chris.
No one
Chairman, I
else?
make a motion to go into executive session
Second.
All in
for the
favor?
purpose of discussion, contract negotiations.
Great. Return afterwards to open meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
You need a roll call, please?
Yes. Dave Sheedy.
Gordon Dowling.
Carol Julius. Executive session, and now we are returning to open session and moving on with our agenda items. Mr. Clerk, would you like to do some of these action items?
We have a 4:40 public hearing.
Yep.
We can get in at least the action item to approve the fraud policy, second reading. If you could just give us one more quick update on this.
Thank you. The fraud risk assessment policy is a policy that was noted as being absent from our policies by the auditors. Consequently, I have taken a fraud policy that other communities have adopted, and it meets the expectations of our auditors, and I put it before you for final reading.
Okay, I've gone through it. Again, it's something we had talked about when we received the auditor's report at the beginning of the year. I think everything's good. Just, I was very happy to see we have a whistleblower protection paragraph, which is, you know, today's topic of conversation.
I haven't talked to the Ukraine lately, I'm sorry.
Wait for
Czechoslovakia.
election season to roll around.
It's already here. It's been going on for 2.5 years.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good, and it's good to get something in place. We can always adjust things as we need to, but I think it's good. Make a motion.
Make a motion to accept the fraud risk assessment policy as printed.
And I second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Want to sneak
You
in
got
the
2 more
taxi?
minutes. You wanna do the
Sneak in the
minutes?
taxi.
Sleep in the taxi.
Make a motion that we accept the new taxi operator license application as printed.
I second. Any discussion?
I think it's something that we have not had for a long time. Did I get an indication last time that we actually have someone that's looking for this license?
We had an
Two, right?
inquiry, but it hasn't resulted in a request yet, but
Okay.
we're ready now.
Now we're
Okay,
ready.
Good.
Bring on the taxis.
Make a motion to accept the new taxi operator license application as printed.
And I second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We've got 2 more minutes. You can do the minutes of the September 23rd meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2019, 4 PM Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 4:39.
Okay, well, then in that case, I will tell you that before you is a proposal for a severe weather closing policy submitted for first reading. Complete street policy submitted for first reading. We're going for a complete streets grant, which requires a policy. And the financial procedures, which is rather extensive, and I'm going to give you more than the usual customary 2 meetings on that one, because it's a little complex. But if you're looking for bedtime reading that will put you out, this is it.
I did read through some of them last week, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take some medicine shortly and then I'll start reading.
So now I have,
The severe weather closing and complete street rate and the severe weathing.
Yeah.
To have that all just
One more.
spelled out so everybody knows what to expect, but hopefully we won't have any severe weather this winter. Right?
Keep holding out for that.
All right, it is 4:40 and we have an appointment with the Board of Assessors for our tax hearing. Do I just turn that right over to you? Yep.
No,
think so.
read.
Paula?
well, you have to open the
Public
Do
hearing.
you read it, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, we're opening a hearing at 4:40. The Board of Selectmen and the Board of Assessors will hold a joint public hearing on property tax classifications Monday, October 7th, 2019, at 4:40 PM in the first floor of the room at Town Hall. The hearing, which is required by law, determines whether the town will have one classification or will differentiate among several classes when setting the tax rate. The hearing will also include the setting of the tax rate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I'm Paula Wolf, the Director of Assessing.
And I'm John Cullinan,
Steve Solari.
welcome aboard.
Fine looking group.
Curtis is missing. Curtis couldn't get
Curtis.
out of work today. Please say hi to him at home.
So we have a PowerPoint that just goes through pretty much a easy way to get through this and hopefully let everybody understand. So this is introduction, the following is supporting documentation and estimated tax rate for FY 2020. The recap, associated documents, and tax rate will receive final certification by the Department of Revenue in October. We're early this year. We managed to get our value certified on earlier time than usual, so. And the actual tax bills will be mailed out at the end of December. The purpose of a classification hearing is to decide whether to shift the tax burden between the property classes. This does not change the total levy for the community. It simply determines the share to be borne by each class. What classification doesn't do? Classification does not determine the tax rate for the town. It does not determine how much money can be raised. A split tax rate will not increase revenue for the town, and East Bridgewater voters determine what the tax levy will be. So this is for this year, total values by property type. The residential, that's a big 1 billion number. That's the total of the value of each house added all together, market value. And the commercial and industrial and personal property. So you can see we're pretty heavy on residential and not so heavy on commercial and industrial. The average property values for this year, single-family home, we went to $360,577. Last year was $343, which is about a 5% increase. Commercial and industrial went from $511,579 to $539,630. That's just, the sales just keep going up in this town of East Bridgewater. We did about 5% last year. We're doing 5% again this year, so. If a single tax rate is adopted, the tax on an average single-family home would be $6,234. And the average, we said, was $360,000, so last year it was $6,000. The tax on an average commercial industrial property is about $9,330. So this is a tax rate calculation. So the how we figure out the tax levy can only go up 2.5%. That's the part. So our total budget is about 54 million, but the tax levy, which is the part that we raise through taxes by divvying up the total with everybody and gets their fair share. So the tax levy last year was 27,320. What we're adding to that is a 2.5% levy growth. So that's that Prop 2.5. That's how much we can add to our levy, $683,024. Then new growth, we had $360,000 worth of new growth, so we get to add that on top of that. So our levy was $28,364.47. Then we have our debt exclusion, which the town voted on. That was when we passed for the miscellaneous improvements that were made, and the big chunk was the high school and the Council on Aging that year, as we all, if you lived here, we remember. So the tax levy limit right now, the limit that we can go up is $31,373,932. These are the total values by the property type. So single family, we have 3,822 parcels, and that's the residential value of them all put together. We have 466 condominiums in town. We have 22 multiple houses, where you have a house and then another house on the lot. Those are pretty much grandfathered. We don't do them anymore, but they are there. 128 two families, 3 families, 30, and 32 of the bigger apartments. We don't have a lot. Vacant land. And the rest you can see, I'm not gonna break it all down, but 2 solars at the bottom, cell phones, telecommunications. This is a chart of our revenue sources. So we're trying to get to that 54, I have the total on the recap. So the total, the budget for the town is $54,165,153. That's what our budget is to run the town. Of that budget, this is where the money's coming from. So property taxes, $31,367,483. That's our levy. State aid, $13,055,343. That's the cherry sheet, so-called cherry sheet that we get. Local revenue, those are all the monies that come in from the excise tax and
Building permits.
building permits, and there's other, the revenue from, say, the enterprise funds with the ambulance and I think the ambulance fund is in there too, yeah. So anything that we bring in money besides that. Free cash, we're using $1.233040 million. That's what was from last year. We've just recently got our new free cash, but that doesn't come into play right now. And then other sources, and those are from the enterprise funds, the other sources. So that brings our total to that 54 million, kind of in a nutshell, how we get here. So in closing, a split tax rate should not be considered if the combined valuation of commercial, industrial, and personal property does not equal at least 25% of the total taxable valuation. That's just a recommended, good math kind of thing when you're looking at this. East Bridgewater's total is 10.72%. So a split tax rate may discourage businesses from locating in the community, and the Board of Assessors' recommendation to the Board of Selectmen is to maintain a single rate for fiscal 2020.
Great, thank you, Paula.
Good job.
Any questions, discussion?
I just have the same question that I bring up every year, Paul, is when we talk about businesses, we talk about residential on taxing, that there's a whole lot of different ways that it calculates for businesses. They get taxed on lights, asphalt, and what else do they get taxed that residential properties don't?
The personal property.
Well, the interior stuff is personal property stuff, but the businesses, like you said, the signs, the parking lots, Steve, you would know more, like doing those commercial permits and all that, the
Yeah.
pieces of the puzzle on that.
Yeah, any tenant fit outs, because they're always upgrading. So they spend a lot more money on upgrading on commercial than we see in residential. A lot of times shelving fixtures, which is somewhat personal property, but they have a lot of more items than in a residential house would have, that it becomes taxable.
Mezzanines and those
Yeah.
big, that's just the breakdown of different things. And things that are attached, those are all part of the building, so, like big shelving and all those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, shelving units and storage and some equipment
Yeah.
that goes with it.
So even though they're paying the same rate, they're actually paying taxes on more things?
More items.
Not just the building.
So they're
Yeah.
contributing more. All right, any other discussion? Do we vote on this now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Make a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the single tax classification for the town of East Bridgewater for fiscal year 2021.
I will second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And one last thing, now that we've voted on that, we just need to let you know what the excess levy capacity is, meaning of that levy amount,
It's what we're leaving on the table.
what we're leaving on the table that we're not using of the allowable levies. So we could have used that 31, where, I have it here, sorry, 31,367,483, and what we're actually using. So there's an excess levy amount of $6,448.23.
Good for us.
Put it all in one store.
Yeah.
We didn't take it all.
We didn't. So what this is I'll give this to you to sign. It just says that the Board of Assessors reported to you that the excess levy is $6,448.23. Last year's was $5,961.85. Once you sign this, I will be submitting the recap to the Department of Revenue tomorrow morning, and we should, within 2 or 3 days, if everything goes smoothly, we'll get notification that we're good to go, and at that point, we propose that the tax rate will be $17.29 this year, from $17.56 last year.
Okay.
Simply because the values went up.
Values go up,
the tax rate goes down. So, all right, thank you.
Good job.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good rest of your meeting.
We can use that $6,000 to get those iPads we wanted.
Don't get the Chromes.
No, Brian says no. Oh, Brian. Rebecca, do you have a pen? Yeah. Oh, great, thank you.
Who's good?
Who's good?
You can't do passport applications in blue, black only.
Actually, it's
They'll
getting
send
very
them back.
fussy. Some things now, they want blue, some things they want black.
Well, blue, then it doesn't look, it couldn't be a photocopy, so I guess that would
Oh, yeah.
make
Is there a
it.
reason for
That's
that?
true.
I can make it.
Well, get a color printer and a solution.
That's
up
true,
below.
yeah, you're right.
Thank you so much, and I think
Thanks, Paula.
you have a letter for them to sign, did you print that out? It's just a letter that goes in the recap, we can do that after, though.
Did you send me one?
No, it usually comes from the Board of Selectmen, but I can scoot and do a copy of one, I think, from last year, before you guys leave. And if you do, that's okay, because it just goes in the recap.
Okay.
It's fine, as long as
Yeah,
we
that's
sign
fine.
this is good, it kind of sums up this one.
Okay, thanks, Paula.
Sorry for the confusion. Thank
No
you.
problem. All right, we finished our action items. Town administrator report.
I have very little for you today, but Rebecca has come prepared to pick up the slack. I want to let you know that I had met with Tracy Costa from Ransom Consulting, who is handling our brownfields for both Precision and Eastern States Steel site. We have some work to do there, and rather expeditiously. There's an MBTA old right-of-way that crosses the property, and I've reached out to the MBTA today, see if we can affirm or deny that there's a current right-of-way, and I want to release. I can't find it in the Registry of Deeds, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist. I've reached out to their right-of-way office for their research to make sure that it doesn't exist. We took money from the state to do a cleanup, and we've spent the money. But part of the responsibility of the town was to bring it to a reusable state and then to market it. We haven't done that. If we don't do that, the state is well within its rights to ask for the money back,
We don't want to do that.
which we certainly don't want to do. So I'm working with Tracy to see what we need to do, and the Office of Economic Development is going to reach out to me to see if they can give us some best use for the property and to look at and help us create a plan or a market plan for that. But it still has some very interesting problems on the site, including a collapsed building with friable asbestos. And so we have some more work to do on the property, which may mean that we'll have to go further out on a limb to clean it up. I'm probably going to have to put onto the warrant this year a request for funding, about, I would say at the moment, $100,000 to match a state grant that we need to use. to clean up the property the rest of the way. It still will be good, but I gotta tell you, it could be just the beginning. It's a pretty expensive facility to clean up. But once done, and if we could turn it back to taxable property, someday we might get our money back in taxes. Right now, we could take the Eastern State Steel site for tax title. I'd rather not, because it comes with a hell of a liability. So, see if we can't.
We've talked about that for years. We don't want anything to do with taking the property.
It's a poison pill. There's a way to take it without taking the liability on. At the same time, there's a new law that does that. Well, not new. But the fact of the matter is, sooner or later, you have to clean it up. You're the owner. So the idea would be to get it to some kind of a state that it could be, capped and something could be built on it, or it could be turned to, reasonable use. And what that is right now, I have no clue. So we'll see if the MBTA has any designs on the property. That'd be nice. But we'll see that. And then you had well, I want to go backwards, by the way. We talked about the storm closing policy. Rebecca was very ingenious at getting copies from another community and putting it into usable format for us. So I'm very pleased, very, very good on her part. I understand that she got the brunt of the angry about our
Heard about
stormwater
that,
closing
yeah.
our severe weather policy. So I want to compliment her an ingenuity in getting this done. So
Yeah, I think this will be a great idea. You
Yeah,
guys could approve that, and then everyone can be on the same page.
everybody
You know,
knows
if we do
what
happen to
expect.
close, more than likely we won't be closing, but last year we did have to close one day, and it was a little confusing for everybody, communication-wise. So,
we won't be closing.
yeah, so.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those. Causes too much trouble.
Yeah. It was a bad storm last year.
Yes, we.
Well, indeed, and the policy written by Rebecca addresses how an individual could make their own determination.
They can use PTO,
That's correct.
stay home.
So that's up for review.
Yep.
And Rebecca has a
All
missive
right.
from the chief.
Staff announcements, Rebecca?
So this was a.
October.
October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Chief Allen, with the East Bridgewater Police Department, is participating in the Pink Patch Project this month. They are selling a limited number of pink patches. They cost $10 each, proceeds benefiting the Massachusetts General Hospital Cancer Center, breast cancer research. Last year, the department raised around $700 for breast cancer research. You can purchase them by sending a check to the East Bridgewater Police Station located at 153 Central Street. They accept checks or money orders payable to Mass General Cancer Center - Breast Cancer Research, or you can, and then they mail you out a patch to your address, or you can also purchase them online, ebpd.org. And they're nice patches. Also, the fire department will be hosting their open house Monday, Columbus Day, which is October 14th. It is Fire Prevention Week. And Town Hall will be closed Monday, October 14th, due to the Columbus Day holiday.
Are they allowed to have the Columbus Day holiday off, Mr. Noble?
If they must. If they must.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Any
Nothing,
other
Madam-
discussions,
nothing,
Mr.
Madam
Sheedy?
Vice
No? All right.
Chair.
I will take a motion to adjourn,
So move.
and I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.